I'm Jae,
I'm Eraj.
and this is Cheers and Tears.
So, Jae,
Yes.
how was your college experience?
My college experience was phenomenal. I have to be totally honest. I didn't have that stressful experience I feel like a lot of people have. I had those stressful nights every once in a while, maybe during finals week, but for the most part, I was living it up. I went Greek. I had lots of friends. I loved my professors and my classes. I mean, it was so good. I would do anything to go back to university. What about yours?
Mine, I had a lot of fun. I moved out for college, so that was a whole different experience. I really enjoyed college and I enjoyed the people that I met. I definitely had stressful nights, like maybe most of the time, especially when you're paying for your own place.
Right.
For me, it was worth it because I liked going out and I liked experiencing university. Definitely got a coffee addiction from it.
Well, why are we talking about university?
Because our subject today is about university and higher education.
Ooh, interesting. Everybody get your notepads.
So, we both save our family's money a little bit by going to state colleges. How was your experience going to a school that's close by rather than going to like a fancy schmancy university?
Well, for me, I don't think there's anything in the world worth college debt. I don't think there's a university name that's worth it, unless you're going to be like a doctor or something, which I definitely am not going to be. So, my state experience was great because I had the same things that the kids at UCLA had. I had the same thing that the kids at USC had. I had access to the same professors. My professors taught at multiple schools. I had access to professors that went to those schools. So, I mean, I didn't lose anything. I had the same experience going Greek. I had the same experience, making friends. So, honestly, I think if you can go to a state school, go for it. Like, unless your state school's in the middle of nowhere and there's no people there, because there are schools like that.
Like Cal State Bakersfield.
Yeah, I don't, I didn't want to say it, but
I'm saying it because my boyfriend watches this and he went to Cal State Bakersfield.
oh, he did?
Yeah, apparently it was, I mean, the business program was pretty good.
How many people were there?
I don't know, maybe like 3 people and a cow.
3 people in a cab. Yeah, it's definitely if you want a bigger experience, I would recommend getting out of Bakersfield. But if you want like to go to your classes and be done with it, go to any school. It doesn't really matter.
So it's funny you mention that because when the authors of the book Higher Education with a question mark, Andrew Hacker and Claudia Dreyfus went to interview students at Harvard, they said that they got nothing from their college that they couldn't have gotten from nearby schools. But that didn't matter because when they got out, they would be Harvard graduates.
You could literally, like I said, have the same professors that teach at UCLA and that teach at CSUN, and
Right.
you're getting the same education. It's just one is UCLA. It's the number one public school in the country.
Yeah, the authors even said that people could get even better education in second or third tier colleges, which reminds me a lot of our trip to CalArts.
I remember that so clearly because it was just like a really fun day. I feel like that was like the first day that we really like spent time together after getting closer.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay. Wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, you remember that guy who was like, "We have a yoga team and we're going to the state finals." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "No."
I loved how you believe that. But honestly, I think from CalArts, I would believe that. Did you know their campus is clothing optional?
What?
Yeah, their campus is clothing optional.
I thought you were going to say, "Did you know CalArts is owned by Disney?" And then I would go, "Yes, I did know that." But the clothing optional thing, that really took me for a loop.
But yeah, CalArts is one of the schools we visited, and we're both in entertainment. So CalArts would be a great place because it's owned by Disney, and a lot of people who graduate from there are pretty much guaranteed a job.
You go to
But
CalArts,
when
you're guaranteed a job for sure.
Right. But when we went there, I just wasn't impressed. I mean, I know it's a private college, so it's a lot smaller, but the insides, there was nothing that screamed, pay millions of dollars in tuition in this.
I honestly thought it was gonna be like going to Disneyland when we first went. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna be this magical place and everything's gonna look so beautiful and everybody's gonna be running around being creative," and definitely was not. Not to say it wasn't, a great school for what you go for,
Mhm.
but just in terms of like aesthetics and if I'm paying almost $1 million in tuition, I need a little bit better.
Right. I think that's what it is. It's the fact that it costs so much, but you also want to have resources and facilities there that are going to make you feel like you're paying all this money for it, you know?
Mhm.
The authors of the book also mentioned that in this economy, most places won't hire you until you're 28 years old.
Oh my god, that's almost 30.
It is almost 30.
What are
We're
you supposed to
almost
do
30.
until then? We are not almost 30. Don't you dare say that.
I mean, we're closer to 30 than we are to 15. So,
But I'm closer to 20 than I am 30
yeah, okay, that's fair. So am
for
I.
now.
For now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely ridiculous. Because what are you supposed to do in the meantime? Like, are you just not
Well, they actually recommended from their research that you could actually go for retail experience and things like that. Even though it doesn't 100% go into your major, it shows that you have work experience and a good work ethic. They
Mhm.
say that a lot of students get reeled into unpaid internships for the experience, but the paradox of that is that we don't really have the option right now to be unpaid since a lot of our college loan interest build up after the first 6 months after graduation.
Right, and most internships last for, like, 6 months to a year. You gotta start paying that back, like, ASAP, so
Right.
it just doesn't make any sense for these to be unpaid, especially because, I mean, it feels like
Yeah.
exploitation, and that's not cool because you're getting free labor out of somebody who could really use the money.
And we definitely need to be paid because tuition has gone up 44% in the last decade for private schools and 55% in public universities. But the typical family income has not gone up to match the rate of tuition. Also, we have to keep in mind for people who are moving out that living expenses are a lot higher than what they used to be.
That's true, but that's where I always wonder is what is it worth? Like to me it wasn't worth leaving because I was like, well, how much am I going to have to pay afterwards if I leave versus if I stay home? If I stay home, I owe nothing. If I leave, then I might have to pay, thousands of dollars once I graduate. So it wasn't worth it to me, but I'm also debt phobic. So I wonder how people like weigh that benefit like when it comes to loans.
I think that if staying at home is going to be detrimental to your health, and if you really can't study and succeed in college while staying at home, then I feel like it is worth moving out.
That's true.
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, if you can stay at home, I'd recommend it because when I moved out, I was working a retail job. So my entire paycheck was just going to bills and going to groceries. And after that, I really didn't have anything left to spend on myself.
That's hard, especially because, there's like so many things that you have to buy in college. You have to buy your textbooks, you have to buy your supplies.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of other expenses that you don't really think about, plus the student health fee.
That's true. The parking.
So it's hard to talk about money without talking about FAFSA. FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid. Now, you mentioned that you actually had a really great experience with FAFSA, right?
I did. I don't want to like disclose what they gave me, but they were like pretty generous. I was actually really surprised, but I think that's probably just because I had a one parent
Hmm.
income. And so if you have like one parent, like it makes a big difference between you have one and then you have two people contributing. If you have two people, they expect you to contribute a lot more.
Right. There are a lot of things that they factor in when they're deciding how much money they're going to give you. For me personally, FAFSA was a terrible experience. Just to fill out the form was hard because my mom kept losing her password.
Mine too.
Basically, FAFSA gives you money based off of your family's income, which is a lot of complaints I've been hearing by other people. Like, what if my family doesn't want to pay for my college, even if they
Mhm.
have the money? Like, what if they can't? There are also other expenses that FAFSA doesn't take into play. Basically, the government has this weird formula of calculating how much money your family should contribute to your college education. It's called your expected family contribution, or your EFC. They don't ask you if your family's going to contribute, if your family's even willing to pay for your college or any of your expenses.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Because not everybody's gonna have parents that are gonna pay for their college. So if you
Right.
don't, like, why on earth does their income even matter?
And the formula that they come up with is based off a family's budget in 1967. That's not to say that they don't count for inflation for the last 50 years. They account for inflation, but it hasn't been adjusted to the spending patterns of the modern day.
Oh, like the living expenses and like how much you have to buy to eat and books and stuff like
Right.
that.
That and also how much things have changed since 1967. More families are paying for things like mobile data plans, internet, cable. Their bills are a lot higher than what they used to be in 1967.
No, that's true. And they probably don't factor in like where you're living and stuff because some places are like more expensive than others.
Oh, 100%. They don't take into account your geographical location. So, say your parents are living in LA and a big chunk of their earnings are going to mortgage, the government still bases their contribution on their income before those expenses. On paper, it might look like they have a good amount of assets, but they don't look into the money that it takes to go into owning townhouses, owning apartments.
And I just want to point out that when you're working towards a master's or a doctorate degree program, that only applies to loans. It doesn't apply to grants because I tried to get FAFSA for grad school for the 2 weeks that I went. And they only give loans. They don't give grants for if after your bachelor's degree.
Wait, did you get your money back for those 2 weeks that you went to grad school?
I lost $1,000.
$1,000?
I lost 1,000. It cost $1,000 for just to go to school for those 2 weeks.
Oh my
And they made
god,
me
I
pay
thought
it.
I thought you would get a refund in the first 2 weeks, no?
No, it's not like because at the community college you do. You get
Yeah.
if you don't go or if you change your mind after 2 weeks, you get all your money back. At the university, they charge you 1% per day, including weekends, and I was in grad school for 12 days, so I lost 12% of my money.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
insane. I would've just finished if I already put in $1,000.
Well, I was gonna finish, but then I realized, like, the whole program was gonna cost me maybe 12 to 15 grand, right?
Mhm.
I wasn't gonna spend all that money in a program I wasn't happy with that I didn't think was gonna do anything for me, so I didn't lose $1,000. Like,
Right.
I was like, "I'll just take the loss and then, save the rest of the money for something that I do want to do."
Mhm.
But if I would have finished the whole semester, I would have lost everything. I would have lost the whole $4,000 in tuition and then had nothing to show for it because I didn't finish.
Right. No, that makes sense. But yeah, basically, even if your parents are not paying for your college, even though you're already pretty much independent, you're paying for your expenses yourself, you're over 18, which in most cases will qualify you as an adult. Under FAFSA's eyes, you're not seen as independent if you're under 24 and you don't meet all of these specific qualifications.
Why 24? Like, what were they thinking? That's what I want. Like, they're just like, you know what sounds like a good number? 24.
I
You know what's
guess
better than
no.
24?
What?
25.
That's enough!
No, I'm kidding. Not in terms of FAFSA, but in terms of SpongeBob references, yes, it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's just ridiculous. Like, they're just picking random numbers.
They are. I mean, everything is a random number. The age to vote and then the age to drink, they're just all random numbers.
It is. I don't understand it.
Do you want to go over some other random numbers?
Let's go over some random numbers.
Okay, so the government is actually the biggest funder for higher education, even though it doesn't seem like it. They spend $126 billion in undergrad student aid
Every year?
from 2013 to 2014. That was the
Dang.
estimate.
So they probably spent more as the years went on because schools get more expensive every year.
Oh, yeah. You would think with all the money that they're pouring into public education that they would do a little bit more in ensuring that the schools are giving us the education that we need.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, federal aid has given universities a reason to drive up costs. You also have to think about what are the government's priorities when they're funding these schools. They actually give a lot more money to professors who are doing academic research than the professors who are just there to teach.
Which makes sense because you're doing more work.
Right, but the ratio is crazy because they give $33 billion every year to academic research versus 79 million to encourage quality teaching.
So for every $100, 24 cents goes to improving education.
Right.
That is ridiculously low. I actually thought you used to think that every professor had to do academic research. I thought that was just a requirement of being a professor.
No, it's a requirement to get tenure as a
Oh,
professor.
okay.
Another shady thing that I found out while reading this is that federal law prohibits the government from disclosing how many graduates from a certain school are actually employed and their salary.
Yeah, I mean, that seems unfair because you probably want to take that into consideration when you're looking at schools.
Right, the transparency is extremely crucial in measuring how good the school is at teaching this subject. You know, like if I were to major in psychology, I want to go to a school where the graduates from psychology are making a good chunk of money,
That
which
makes
I feel
sense.
like it should be a requirement. Because if
Yeah, it
I'm
should.
going to the school and I'm paying this much, imagine paying so much for an item that you really wanted. Like, what's something you've really wanted?
Oh God, I'm panicking because I'm on the spot. Uh,
You buy things all the time. This should not be hard.
I know, but it
What's the
is
last thing you
hard.
bought?
An iPad.
There you go. Wouldn't you want to know everything about the iPad before you buy
I sure did. I called Apple and I told them, you better sell me on this iPad and tell me why I should buy it. And I sat on the phone with the guy for like 20 minutes while he explained the entire iPad to me.
I don't know why I imagined you called Steve Jobs. He just like woke up in his grave, like, hello.
This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years.
Yeah, Steve Jobs and I have beef, so we don't talk.
Should we just move on or should we hear about your beef?
I mean, I would like to take credit for inventing the iPhone back in 2005, but I'll just never get that credit, even though I do have the designs dated and everything. It didn't look like the iPhone, but it did everything the iPhone did. And, I'll just never get that credit, but that's all right. I've moved on, clearly.
In 2005? How old are
Hmm.
you?
Like 8. I had like drawings of it.
You should go to Apple and give them that. Is it trademark?
No, I didn't know about trademark at 8 years old.
That's your mistake. You should have known.
I know.
What are they teaching you in elementary school? Oh my God.
Nothing, apparently. But anyway, moving on from my gripe with Steve Jobs.
I don't even know how to transition this. So the current student loan debt, just go in there. The current student loan debt in the US is $1.6 trillion. It's growing at a rate of 7% per year, which is higher than car loan debt and credit card debt in the US. Basically, the institutions have made a superstructure that meets the immediate needs of students and universities, but it doesn't have great long-term effectiveness or stability with the student loan program.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that the financial stress due to student loan debt has deeply affected students' mental health. I know a lot of college students who recently graduated and they were so stressed about paying off their loans if
Mm-hmm.
FAFSA didn't cover their education.
Well, how can we help solve the loan problem?
Well, economists suggest that the first step is to offer relief for those in large multi-year loans. People who have large chunks of loans that they feel like they can't pay off in their lifetime anyway, and it's for years and years and years. There are people who are building cases for a taxpayer bailout. I mean, it sounds unfair to have the taxpayers pay for this, and I know everyone's going to be against that. But we've
Mm-hmm.
already done that to all of the major banks. We've already done that to so many other institutions where we've had
Right.
taxpayer bailouts in the past. So that could be one of the options. Another
Mm-hmm.
option is to help pay it off with the companies that you work for. So basically, you get a job with a company and they'll offer to help pay off your student debt. And with that, the company will be getting tax benefits.
That seems fair.
So far, that seems like a pretty viable option. But the biggest problem throughout all of this is the rising cost of tuition. So even if we do help with these loans, tuitions are still going up every single year. It's gone up significantly since the last decade. And it's mainly due to reduction in state support. The state is giving less and less money since the 1980s. And then the colleges start asking more from the students because the state's not giving them nearly enough.
Right.
Another thing that contributes to this, which made me so angry, the multi-million-dollar salaries for presidents and senior administrators of institutions. They're basically making double and triple of what professors make.
Which is so ridiculous. No one needs that much money. I'm going to be just straight up honest. No one needs that kind of money.
Right. I know they're just basically giving themselves raises. And I don't know if there's any sort of institution in place to, kind of like a checks and balances.
Mm-hmm. I don't understand it. I mean, I imagine the president and the senior administrators put in a lot of work, but multi-million dollar salaries? I don't think so.
And something definitely needs to be done about the rising tuition rates because within the next decade, 2/3 of our workforce will require a post high school education. But at this rate, America is not producing enough college graduates. And by 2025, we will be 11 million short of qualified workers.
11 million?
11 million. Which,
Oh my God.
I don't know, makes me feel like maybe it'll be easier to get a job with our degrees.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look back on it now and I'm like, I should have studied something else.
There's a lot of jobs that ask for just a bachelor degree. They don't really care what it's in.
No, that's true. And what's actually super interesting about that is that bachelor's degrees recipients, regardless of what you majored in, they earn 60% more than people who only have a high school diploma or a GED.
Oh, wow. That makes me feel a lot better.
The expensive piece of paper could be in anything and you'll still make 60% more. Even an associate's degree can help you get a boost in pay. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bachelor's degree, but bachelor's degree recipients earn 60% more.
It kind of reminds me what you were saying, that even to be a receptionist nowadays, you need a bachelor degree,
You
which is
do, which
ridiculous.
why do I need a bachelor's degree to answer the phone? I've been
Right.
answering the phone since I was 7.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.
I wasn't
Right.
supposed to, but I did it anyway.
You even designed the iPhone.
I
At
did.
8.
I designed the iPhone at 8. So I know my way around phones. I don't need a bachelor's degree for that, but if anyone's hiring, I do have one. Just putting that out there. No, but it's crazy because even in 2017, the median pay for those who had a bachelor's degree was $1,173 a week versus those with a high school diploma at $712 a week. That's a big difference.
That is a big difference. These numbers are making me happy.
I know. You feel just a little bit better on the inside.
Right.
What really sucks is that it's necessary for entry-level jobs. I feel like for an entry-level job, you should not need a bachelor's degree.
Especially in a lot of entry-level jobs, you learn a lot of that job during the job, not really before.
Exactly. Like you shouldn't necessarily have to know everything before you go into that. But it's sad because 65% of jobs require secondary education and 35% of that 65% require a bachelor's degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's insane. It doesn't make any sense for an entry-level job. The good thing about college is that at least you can kind of like network. So at least that way you can kind of like, get to know other people who, even if you don't finish, if they know your craft, they can go vouch for you and say, hey, this person didn't finish, but they do a really good job. Like you should see their work. I got a potential job offer from my professor recommending me. My professor still remembered me after almost 2 years.
Oh,
And he
that's
reached
good.
out to me and he was like, oh, yeah, so I know this place that's hiring writer's assistants. So if you want, I'd recommend you and you can get the job. And it's crazy because 80% of young professionals obtain positions that were never advertised publicly. And that's one of them.
Oh, yeah, no, that's so true. I do a lot of freelance artwork, and a lot of times they're recommended by other artists that I went to class with that just have too many projects. And so they're like, hand it off to me. And if I'm working on something, I hand it off to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to create a network of people that you went to school with or are in the same craft as you. And even people who aren't in the same craft as you, they're, making a business or doing something different and they need some artwork done and they're not artists themselves. So they've also reached out to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's crazy how you can meet like so many different people in the classes that you take, like your GEs and stuff, because that also helps expand your network because you never know where you're going to want to end up. How do you feel about general eds?
I think Ed's a pretty great guy in general, but sorry, that was so bad.
That was hilarious.
General ed classes, I actually really enjoyed it. I was part of the geology club in community college.
Really?
Yeah, because I know I was an art student, but I went to geology class as a general ed requirement. And my professor was so cool, and he was like, by the end of this class, I will transform you into geology lovers. And I'm like, yeah, right, man, this is just rocks. But by the end of the class, I really liked it, and so I ended up joining his geology club because they did a lot of hiking trips and looked at rocks, and I thought it was interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, GEs are definitely like a great way to like explore like different interests, things you might be interested in, things you never even really knew that you could be interested in. And it gives you more options like in terms of what you want to do. Cause I don't know about you, but I changed majors like 6 times.
I did too. I jumped around so many majors before deciding on it, and even after deciding my major, I've thought of switching and tried different classes out just in case.
Yeah. So I mean, I really like general ed. I get people's argument against it, I guess,
Mhm.
where they say like it's not necessary, it's just a way for the school to get extra money out of you. Like I
Which could totally
totally
be
get
true.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could totally be true, but I still think it's like a good thing to give you
Mhm.
an opportunity to explore things you may have never known you loved before.
Is there a class that surprised you from your general ed?
Hmm, that's a good question. Is there a class that's
Because
surprised?
from
Sign language.
oh, sign language.
Yeah, I was a deaf studies major for like a month. I think that was
Oh.
the longest that I kept a major. I started watching Switch to Birth. That's how I got into deaf studies. And
Mhm.
then I took sign language classes. I was so worried about not being able to keep up with things and interpret things correctly that I kind of just psyched myself out of it and was like, okay, yeah, never mind. This isn't for me. But it wasn't like I was bad at it. I was like a C-level student in sign language. But one thing that's super interesting that you mentioned was the geology club.
Mhm.
When I was in college, I accidentally joined the ping pong club, and that was my extracurricular activity.
Ping pong. How did you
Accidentally.
accidentally?
Well, it wasn't an accident, I should say. I should say what happened was I was going through sorority recruitment and I was looking at all the tables for the different sororities, and one just happened to be next to the ping pong club. And the ping pong club was like harassing me to sign up while I'm trying to get to this table to introduce myself to the sorority girls before my next class.
How are
And
they
so
harassing you? Are they, like,
they were like,
slapping you with ping pong paddles?
they were like, "Come on, you gotta sign up. Like, who doesn't love a good game of ping pong?" I'm like, "Man, I'm not really athletic. I'm sorry." He's like, "You don't have to be athletic. We'll train you." And like, they just wouldn't let me go. He's like, "Come on, please, please sign up. Do it for me. Make me smile."
Oh
And
my
I was
god.
right next to the sorority table, and I didn't want them to think I was a jerk, so I signed up.
That's low-key manipulative.
It was
You're like
manipulative, and I never went to any meetings. And then they kicked me out when I didn't pay my dues. They sent me emails being like, "You haven't paid. You didn't pay. You didn't." I'm like, "I'm not gonna."
Damn. Ping pong club at CSUN don't mess around.
Join us or die.
They don't. But I say all that to say, extracurriculars also help you explore your interests. So that's another like super fun thing about college. I highly recommend looking at extracurriculars if you're listening to this and you're still in college, because even if you don't get what you are looking for out of general eds,
Mhm.
extracurriculars put you in a different environment and that may help you find new interest or like new friends or anything like that.
Right, and sometimes it's nice to have general ed or extracurriculars just because you need a break from your major, and I like taking a break, especially since a lot of the art classes were, like, double the time that a normal
Hmm.
class would be. It's mainly just, like, a lot of hands-on work the whole time. It was nice just to sit in a class and learn about Shakespeare or something.
It's just nice to do something different every once in a while, especially like I remember being in like 4 screenwriting classes at one time.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't want to touch a screenplay ever again. I was like,
Right.
I'm so tired. I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. But, eventually you find your way back to it.
So how do you think that college can contribute to your health?
Excellent question. They actually say that people who receive a college degree have a healthier lifestyle, and bachelor's degrees recipients live 9 years longer than those who don't have a bachelor's degree.
Maybe it's their general ed health courses that they're
Of course.
taking.
I did have to take health. So, yeah. And it's actually crazy because it can also help with your mental health.
Oh, how so?
They say that those who earn a degree after 25 are less likely to suffer from depressive symptoms, and they rate themselves having a better life in their 40s.
Wow, so after 25.
Yeah. So you can start whenever, but if you earn the degree after 25, you will have less depressive symptoms and have a better life in your 40s.
Maybe because most people who are earning it after 25 probably took their time in college.
Instead of like rushing through it.
At most students don't finish their degree in 4 years.
No, I think the number is 6, isn't it?
6 out of
Like 6 years.
Oh, 6 years. I thought you were saying 6 people.
No.
Yeah, I know the average student will finish their degree in 6 years.
I mean, whatever people do or choose, whatever their path may be in college, I feel like it's important to just encourage people to do your best. Don't stress yourself out to the brink of exhaustion. If you have to take your time, take your time. There's no shame in it, and enjoy the ride.
I think if I were to go back and do it again, I totally would. Even though it was stressful and even though it was scary at times, I had a lot of fun and I met a lot of great people.
That's what it's all about. Oh, there's the bell. Time to go.
The bell doesn't dismiss you, I do. But this is the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening to this episode of Cheers and Tears. I'm Eraj.
I'm Jae. Tune in next time when we investigate, is Rudolph's red nose due to COVID?